you do, everyone, with these compelling questions? Nailed it. Nailed it. Okay. So why don't you guys take just a moment, say what your question is, and for some of you, there's multiple answers, multiple thoughts about this. So why don't you choose one person from every group, and we'll just kind of go around in a little circle here and say what your question is and come up with your best answer. Why don't we start here with you guys?
Okay, your turn.
Folks up in front.
What am I going to say? Yeah, we don't know.
Want to go ahead?
All right, this is from group one. First we thought the question was just stupid, so we couldn't take it too seriously. It's about who's the most relevant person in our times. Too relevant. But anyway, we thought, well, if it were tech we were talking about, Steve Jobs would probably take it. If it were health, probably Alice Waters would get it, changing the way that we all eat. I thought, for me, selfishly, my wife and child, because I can do without Alice or Steve for a while, but I can't do without the others. What other ones do we have? We were looking for a leader to inspire somebody that had to do with faith. Couldn't find anybody. So I think that was about it.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Okay, next group.
Hi, okay, so our question was, what is the greatest value that guides your life and why? And that is such a personal thing that we instantly got 5 different answers. So we really reconciled it down to, it's an individual choice. Whatever you can reconcile with your own conscience and your own values, that's what's going to drive you. It's a very personal thing. So it was as simple as that for us.
Thank you. Okay, any volunteers for next group to come up? John?
Hi, we're group 3. The question was, what's the most honest thing that you could have done? And so we immediately dove into, well, I mean, if you pick something like, gave the change back to somebody who gave their own change. Is that the most honest thing you've ever done? So we had to rule out all of those things. And then we went down the path of, well, maybe it's being honest with myself, in a situation where you've been in denial. And so we thought that was maybe one, but we didn't necessarily want to pick any specific examples. So really we kind of were leaning towards maybe not answering it at all. Going to denial. So anyway, that's about as far as we got. We really didn't come up with a really good solution of how you measure what is the most honest thing that you have done.
So you couldn't give an honest answer?
Couldn't give an honest answer. That's a little wishy-washy.
Okay, who's next? Oh, thank you.
Well, we got a much less philosophical question. Ours was, what's the title of the best book you've ever read and why? So the answers ranged from the dictionary to Aztec to The Alchemist to The Brain That Changes Itself. And so if you haven't read any of those, you can add them to your summer reading.
Thanks, Terry.
So our question was, what's the most beautiful thing about people and why? The unifying theme between our answers was the connections in between people. One answer was passion, another emotion, another laughter, and another diversity. It was those connections that really illustrate things and grow. Jitender had a good quote that came up that he attributed to Pablo Picasso, which is, the reasonable man conforms himself to reality. The unreasonable man conforms his reality to himself. Therefore, all progress depends on the unreasonable man.
top, okay.
Very good.
Hi, we were group 6 and we had a question that was stated as what makes you the most humble and why? The most pithy answer we had was one word, underachievers. Excuse me, I said underachievers, overachievers. One person felt like the ocean really humbled them, the cosmos, the creativity of others, and why we just sort of mused on it. So.
Very good. Thanks, Sandra. Okay, last group. We're not last group? I think we have 2 more.
Well, group 8 may or may not be the last group. And we were asked to decide what institution most needs to change. And that's a hard question because there's a lot of institutions and they're all different sizes. But I think the whipping boy of the moment has to be Congress. And we talked about a couple different issues, and obviously we didn't choose a party that had to go. But I'd note that the BP oil disaster is really a failure of the regulatory agencies, which is a failure of Congress and the administration, but mostly Congress. So when you design an agency to be toothless, and it turns out to be toothless and it causes a disaster, you have to look at the people that designed the agency. I think the economic scandal with the SEC also designed to be toothless, ineffective, no accountants. That wasn't an accident. The lobbyists helped Congress decide to do that. We need to have a science-based policy. That's what I hope for.
Awesome. Thanks, Carl. Last group? Second group? Second to last?
Okay. Our question was, what skill do you need in order to succeed and why? We got some variety of answers. Determination, fortitude, humility. Another thing I was thinking is, depending on, how you define succeed, could very well be that the only thing you really need to achieve that is low expectations.